I'm Philippe Rahm. I'm Swiss. I'm a Swiss architect, and I come from Paris. Now, for me, art, you know, it's the question of architecture. If it is architecture and art, it's only when you try to redefine the language of architecture. You know, I don't think that architecture is always, and for me it's really the link between architecture and art, yes. It's architecture, the real goal of architecture, it is to create space, but space, it's not, it's what it is in between the wall, and it is not really the wall. Architecture, it's not really the wall. The wall are just something that keep the space, but the real objective of architecture is the space itself, and so the space, what it is, and we know that the space, it's not a void, it's not empty, it's a certain quality of air, it's an atmosphere, it's a climate with light, with heat, with relative humidity. And now we know that there is some electromagnetic smog or electromagnetic wavelengths, like from the mobile, from the Wi-Fi, wireless, and so we are. So the space is full of things, and we are swimming a little inside. We are completely immersed inside the space, and so it's why, for me, architecture, if it is a work on the space, it is a work on all this invisible element, and for me, architecture is no more something empty. You know, it's really, and so it's why the question of climate become for me the main topic of the contemporary architecture. But also because it's I think it's something very general. But today maybe the most important thing, it is a question of the sustainability and the climate, and for me I could link my own research to this new agenda of sustainability through the question of heat or relative humidity. So because it is a question of energy. It is the way to work with the energy and to minimize the energy, to go in the sustainable development. And so I think it's also change the way to think about architecture. I think, you know, yeah, I think there is some new recommendation about this. You know, for example, in Switzerland, they say that a bedroom, you have to warm it at 16 degrees Celsius because you are inside the bed. A kitchen at 18 because you are moving a little, and the living room at 20 because you don't move in the sofa, and the bathroom at 22 because you are nude, naked inside. I project one house. It is the house. The form of the house is a kind of tension between 15 degrees Celsius and 22 degrees Celsius. It means that the house becomes a kind of landscape of heat, a thermal landscape, and you could choose different temperature for different activity, if you are naked or not, if you are moving or not, and you could begin to have a kind of migration inside the interior space and find different place related with the activity and with the way you are. You have your clothes. Yes. The hormonarium, where we reduce the level of oxygen from 21% to 14%. It was like in this space it was very. There is different level of to appreciate this work. I think the first level was just experiment. Yes, you go inside, and it was a pure experience of space, because the light was very bright, and so and it was completely white, and there is this reduction of oxygen that gives a strange feeling, and so you have the feeling to float, to swim into the space. The second level to understand the work was like a shift of the element of architecture that go from the visible into the invisible, and so because also the perception of the space was more physiological perception, because it's also the light increase, blocks the secretion of the melatonin, one hormone, and the level of oxygen increase the erythropoietin, another hormone. And so it was also interesting because at one moment, you know, the way to feel architecture was no more in the visible, but it became beyond or under the skin, and you begin to inhabit the space also with the hormonal system. And the last level of this project was also this the kind of distortion of space, because it was like a reproduction of the high mountain at the sea level, because the reduction of oxygen was at from 21% to 40%. It was like to go in the mountain, in the high mountain at 3,000 altitude meter, and also the light coming from the ground. It was like the snow, like the reverberation of the light of the sun on the snow, and so it was like yes, a reproduction of the mountain. Of the white, the snow, and but not like narrativity, not like a fiction, but really like with physiological tools. And so, and for me, it was also important this idea that architecture is not something that it's not the representation of the reality; it is the reality itself, and sometimes it is a physiological reality. And so we could, and we begin to do. But we just at the beginning of the study, we want to create different things to eat or different cream at different temperatures. So you could choose if you want. If you are cold, for example, and you want to be at 16 and not 14, so you could have a cream that activates the 16 channel, you know. And so it's because. Yes, the perception of the space it's like, you know, like the light perception, you know, it's coming from outside, but there is also, if you eat fish, for example, you get also some vitamin, and so there is always a kind of mixed between what it is outside, what you eat, the perception of the space outside, and the perception of the space inside the body, and it's why. The question of food for me is completely involved into the architectural language. And, on this, I like this on this exhibition, and also on different projects. And it's yes, it's always I call meteorological architecture. It's my work is between meteorology and physiology. I think it is a field, the contemporary field of architecture. It's between the very small, the neurologic or the physiological scale, to the atmospherical and meteorological scale. And so I think it's a game between the big and the small, between what it is outside the body and inside the body, what it is what you eat and what you feel outside, and